Hello there. So Katie Hopkins was interviewed under caution for stuff she posted on social media. Yet another victim of the hard left cancel culture that has infested our institutions and continues to fester away despite all talk by Keir Starmer that free speech is somehow safe in his hands. He's just destroying freedom of expression faster than the Tories did. And Katie's so-called crime, using words that have offended people. But the very fact that she was arrested 3 weeks ago and no charge has been made as far as I'm aware, is an indicator of how solid that case is, or isn't. But the real truth is that what she said was not the crime. The crime is that she, Katie Hopkins, said it. Oh yes, surely someone had to profess to the police to being offended by her comments for this to happen. Anyway, here's what she said.
Tuesday the 5th of August here at Exeter Police Station. And I, Katie Hopkins, state as follows. I have attended this interview under protest as I was threatened with arrest if I did not attend. I consider this interview and the police investigation to be an unlawful interference with my right to freedom of expression pursuant to Article 10 ECHR Human Rights Act 1998. I reserve my position in respect of any actions I choose to take, including but not limited to a formal complaint and claim for damages against Devon and Cornwall Police. I run a comedy pub night called the Katie's Arms, live on my Instagram at 8 p.m. on Fridays for 30 minutes. I started the Katie's Arms during the idiocy of COVID lockdowns in order to help people struggling with their mental health. The Katie's Arms is now an international community of people wanting others to live their best life, laughing with me and at me. My audience choose to join me on my Instagram channel live. If anyone was offended, that is their choice. I do not republish or upload this content. It is ridiculous that my comedic speech is subject to a criminal investigation, and as such, my presence here is ridiculous. I will not answer any questions. And that was my statement to Devon and Cornwall Police today.
Well, there you have it. Oh, and the Free Speech Union is supporting her. They've said that on X. So they are supporting her. And I will just add, please join the Free Speech Union if any of this concerns you. It's a really good move. It gives you some protection and advice. Okay, Richard, what do you make of that?
Well, Jeff, it horrifies me, to be honest with you. The comments, apparently, from what I can gather that she made, I've watched a few interviews with Katie on this matter, and apparently she made a self-deprecating comment about her own epilepsy, I believe. I hope I'm reading this correctly. And she used a specific word that I'm not going to use, because I don't know how safe it is to use now, when describing herself in a self-deprecating manner. Now, I'm sorry, Jeff. Look, I speak about myself, and you speak about yourself quite often in self-deprecating manners, and our choice of terminology now, in which we are self-deprecating, could result in the police knocking on our doors now, Jeff. That's the long and short of it. These are very scary times for Katie Price or anybody else who dares stick their head above the parapet.
Hopkins.
Sorry, Katie Hopkins. Yeah, Katie Price. Why am I thinking of Katie Price? Oh, I saw something. Yes, she hasn't been very well. No, definitely not. I can assure you. Anyway, a lovely lady, of course. But anyway, yes, Katie Hopkins. Sorry, there was something. She's not well. Look, I have to read a lot of stuff, Jeff. You know, you and I read every paper every day, and unfortunately, some things that we're not interested in do sort of come our way. Anyway, off the Katie Price situation. Yeah, but if you and I say something self-deprecating, then I'm afraid to say we could have a knock on the door. Look, we're expecting it at some point anyway. Just for speaking out, just having a social media presence now can land you in prison, potentially. And she could potentially end up in prison because of this, in jail. Now, I hope not. It could just be one of these non-crime hate incidents. But that alone should not happen. There are these stupid things. What's happened to our country, Jeff? As you said, we got that plank in Parliament who was speaking on the world stage, telling how wonderful free speech is in the United Kingdom, and yet you have things like this going on. This is not free speech. This is not a free country. The United Kingdom is becoming unlivable right now for people like you and I. For people like you and I, this is becoming unlivable, and it makes you wonder how long we can keep doing this from Britain. It really does. There are people now who are looking to for sanctuary in America, for the protection of Donald Trump. There's quite a few high-profile people who are looking towards that. Yes. Seeking asylum. No, British people seeking asylum for free speech. This is where we're heading. It's ridiculous, Jeff. Utterly ridiculous. Sorry, over to you, mate.
It's absolutely stupid. It's absolutely ridiculous that we've actually got to the situation where we have something called Speaker's Corner, which is the home of free speech, is in London, in Hyde Park, is well known to everybody, and yet we don't have free speech in the country anymore. Hyde Park's been taken over, by the way, by a certain demographic, just about, and they made it their home. And they try to push others out as far as I can see. The whole country is being bombarded by this total rubbish. And as John's sister says, Katie Hopkins is ace. She's great. Yeah, she says things, and she says what she thinks. And this is the problem now. It's not just that you're not allowed to say what you think. It's that you're not allowed to think it in the first place. That's the crime. That is the modern crime. Thinking. Thinking is now the crime. You must just spout what you are told, give it no thought, give it no background, give it no logic. That is the new Britain under Keir Starmer and his Stasi police force. Oh, yeah. I can imagine. Can you imagine if I said to everybody, oh, I'm as blind as a bat because I have to use these to read? Will that now get me in trouble? Will that now get me in trouble just for being I'm as blind as a bat, me, because I need to use these? So all spectacle wearers out there are now going to complain about me and I'm going to get a knock on the door. Is that how this works now? It's absolutely reprehensible. So apart from joining the Free Speech Union, people, go and join Advance UK too to save our country. We need it. We absolutely need it. Anyway, over to you, Richard. Any more on this?
Yeah,
I bet you've got a lot more to say.
Yes, well, there is. Look, I have made sort of, I'm frightened to talk about, let's say conditions that I have, conditions. For instance, okay, I officially am on the autistic spectrum, okay? I officially have a diagnosis of Asperger's, all right? So if I was to say, for instance, that, oh, that's my autistic brain there, haha, because I forgot something or I did something in a certain way, would that mean all of a sudden I've offended somebody in the autistic community? It's like or I've said something that could be perceived as offensive to somebody in the autistic community if I was being self-deprecating. Sorry, I find it gets to the point where you just don't want to speak. But we have to speak, and I will bloody well speak, and nobody's going to stop me from speaking. They're going to have to lock me up. They're going to have to lock so many of us up, because otherwise, what's the point? What is the point? What's the point of living in this world like this? When I say that, I'm not encouraging them to take their lives. Oh gosh, I've got to be very careful what I say here. No, what I mean is, if we don't speak out now, our children and our grandchildren won't be able to speak out. And that's horrific. That is, it's like I have a very close family member who's diametrically opposed to everything I say. And that's fine. And for that family member, I will continue to speak out like this and fight for free speech, because otherwise that family member will not be able to in the future, even though it's completely opposite in direction to mine. And this isn't about left or right anymore. This is about freedom, Jeff. This is freedom.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is all about freedom. Freedom of thought, freedom of speech, and freedom of action. We're losing them all. Very soon, they're still pushing for these low traffic neighbourhoods, 15-minute cities. You won't go anywhere. You won't own anything. You won't have anything. And they're pushing for this while they're pushing to get rid of your freedom of speech and get rid of your freedom of thought. You're not allowed, as I've said, you're not allowed to think wrong. You're not allowed to. That is the crime. Katie Hopkins is a free thinker. That is a massive, massive crime in this country right now, and will be punished all the way to jail if they can get you in there. Although I think in Katie's case, it's all coming a bit late, because we've seen what's happened in recent times. I mean, a load of people lied about Tommy Robinson, didn't they? And what he did in that station, St Pancras Station. When the truth came out, they all had egg on their face and he went off laughing. And I'm hoping that the same happens to Katie. I hope she comes out laughing on after this. And if she sues the police and is successful, very interesting as well. Yes. As Asmo says, they invite you for an interview and will arrest you if you don't attend. Why don't they just arrest you? If you've committed a crime, or they suspect you've committed a crime, why don't they arrest you? The very fact they don't says to me that maybe they haven't got anything, so just refuse to go. That's not legal advice. That's sort of my initial sort of gut reaction. Now, Stephen Barrett, if you don't know, he's a very outspoken barrister, and he's not a lefty by any means. In fact, I recorded him giving a speech a couple of months ago. It's one of the older videos, and he is absolutely fantastic. And he's got long hair and red braces, which he always goes on stage wearing these red braces. Whenever you see him on the internet, he's wearing his red braces. So he
Jeff,
did a
you
video
wear red braces.
I know, that makes me good, doesn't it? Anyway, so Stephen Barrett. In fact, today I haven't got red braces on, I'm afraid. Stephen Barrett did a video just 2 days ago with a general talk about what you should do if you get a knock on the door from Plod. And it was very, very good. It's not legal advice, as he said, it's not legal advice, but he takes you through the basics and what you should and shouldn't do. And it's all basically don't say a word. And if they arrest you, then get proper legal advice. You know, it's of that ilk. So it's well worth having a watch of that because it's really, really important for us now in this country. Everybody now must know their rights inside and out. Never before in our history, I don't think, have we ever had to know. It was always a given. But and now that we've got all these human rights laws, they're being used against us. Absolutely being used against us. Mostly because we don't know what rights we have. The rights under English law used to be you could do anything you like as long as it's not outlawed by statute or statutory instrument. If it's not outlawed by statute, then you can do it. Now we have a case where speech that is legal, you can still be punished for it. You can still be punished for legal speech, for things that are not unlawful, not illegal, that are not inciting people to violence or anything like that, you can still be punished for legal speech. That's what's happening in this country right now.
Yeah.
And the way it's going with Keir Starmer, it will only get worse. Once that Islamophobia law comes into place, and oh yes, it will. They are hell-bent on it. Absolutely. It will come in some form or another, and it will curtail your free speech even more. So we have to really, really be on our watch now. We can't trust governments. Not that we ever really should have done.
Well,
but
Katie
at least
talks
they were
about
on.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said in one of the interviews that these days, because the law is so broken, effectively, the government's against you, you effectively go on instinct. And that's, you have to speak on instinct now after somebody goes after you. I mean, basically what we're saying here, though, Jeff, is the new rule in Britain, in modern Britain, is you no longer have to commit a crime to be investigated. You no longer have to insult anybody to be accused, and you no longer have to really cause harm to be punished. You only have to exist in the wrong way, the way that the state doesn't like it. Say the wrong words, and you're in deep trouble. Your words and terminology has to be very careful. You have to be careful with your terminology. If you make the wrong joke or you laugh at yourself, then you could get a knock at the door. This is just absolute insanity. It's exposing the insanity of what's happening in this country. It's chilling. It's completely chilling. It feels like the goal was not just to punish Katie Hopkins for being Katie Hopkins. It's to send a message to everyone else, to make every ordinary decent Briton in this country, second guess every single thing that they say. It puts us into a state where we're constantly living in fear, especially people like us who do what we do. The police has sort of shifted it seems, in their remit from protecting the public to protecting what can only be described as perceptions, and from solving crimes to managing thought. Your thoughts are now being managed. Jeff.
Yes, I was just thinking, I'm not sure. Do you know something? A couple of weeks ago, I'd have said this. I'm going to say it anyway. If you are unlucky enough to have schizophrenia, for example, unlucky enough to have that, could you be guilty of reporting yourself?
Yeah, I know where you're coming from. That is it's those sort of logical conclusions you sort of come to if somebody has dual identities it's an interesting concept, that is, Jeff. Although that concept might be offensive to somebody,
Yes, that was part of the point.
Yes.
Not only
concepts
could
be
they
offensive
offend themselves, but the fact that I mention it, some people go, oh, but these things need talking about. We have to talk about these things now.
Yes,
we wouldn't have had to have talked about this sort of thing a year ago, but now we have to. We have to talk about these things because they're forcing us to have to do it in response to their stupidity. Yeah. Now
it's hideous. Go on. Sorry.
Malkster says they use the process as a punishment. Absolutely right. If you don't like someone, i.e. Tommy Robinson, then you just keep hounding them. You arrest them when you know you're not going to actually charge them for a crime in a train station. You still make a big show of arresting them, marching them down to the police station to say, well, actually, no further action. What was that about? It was part of the process. And that's the sort of thing that we should not be accepting. Although, part of me does say we now need to be turning on the left big style. See something a lefty says that offends you, report them to the police immediately. And flood the police with all these complaints So in the end, they just can't function because of them. Then someone will turn around and say, this is stupid.
Yeah, I think,
But,
unfortunately, that I think doing that, though, as we discussed earlier, Jeff, could be, we don't want to waste police time ourselves, because the police are very busy and they're solving crimes like burglaries, and they're doing those things, and we know that they're addressing burglaries. Oh, hang on, no, maybe they're not addressing burglaries and prioritizing those so much.
No.
But never mind.
Yeah.
Police work is difficult enough as it is. With all the social media commentators that they have to arrest, or just ordinary people putting out tweets. As we said yesterday, Jeff, there's a number of crimes recently where people have committed hideous crimes in this country, and they get a year or 12 months for them. And yet, if you're Lucy Connolly, what happened to her? 3 years, was it? I can't remember if it's 2.5, 3 years. Look, it's just... It's broken. The British judicial system is broken. I believe that Stephen Barrett actually tweeted that himself not so long ago. Today, I think it was, in the past 24 hours.
What he actually says is that the legal system in the UK has got obese and fat with laws and opinions and things, and it's lost its core, which is to protect people from criminals. The whole idea is to protect us from actual criminals, those people that go about harming people and stealing their stuff. Nowadays, if you physically harm or attempt to physically harm someone, you'll get let off or get a suspended sentence, as we've recently seen. But if you say a hurty word that doesn't really offend people, they just use it against you. That's the real problem. You cannot prove that someone hasn't been offended. You have to take their word for it. There's no proof required. No proof at all. You have offended me. I am claiming you have offended me. End of argument. You must therefore be guilty. Off to jail. That's where we're at. No proof, no real proof is required. And this is the sort of thing that Stephen Barrett is against. And he says that there's just too much flabbiness in the whole legal system. And when I was looking at this more and more, the number of the different courts, the different status of courts, you have judges with this title, judges with that title, and they all seem to be disconnected. There's no system. There's no real system. It's all built on history and stuff, and it no longer works for us.
Oh, no, there is a system. The system...
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there is a system. And the system is... I think this is quite deliberate, to be honest with you. The legal system right now, the judiciary, is there to facilitate and enable the will of the globalist, far left, I would say, establishment. That's what it's there for. So that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. I'm sorry, I don't trust the judicial system and the legal process in this country one bit now. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is. And we are in dire straits in so many ways. As I said, the United Kingdom is becoming an unlivable country, especially if you do what not just you and I do. I don't sort of, this is not about us, Jeff. This is about Katie Hopkins and everybody else. But as you can probably tell, Jeff and we're quite frightened. We have to do this, though. We have to do this, because if we don't, our children and grandchildren will have to do it, and they will face what we potentially could face. And yeah.
Yes, well, here's a good question from Marvin G. I'm not in the UK. Can I make a complaint about Starmer? Well, anybody can make a complaint to the police from anywhere in the world. Whether they act on it is another thing altogether. If you've been offended, I'm not sure how they would take that. Now, if you made a complaint from abroad about Katie Hopkins, they will act on it immediately. Be in no doubt. And because remember, when people make a complaint, the person they complain about is not allowed to know who made the complaint or the nature of the complaint.
Yes.
Because the person who did the offending might turn on that person. But it's all right with someone who's, I don't know, accused of murder. They can know who's taking them to court and what they're accused of and everything. But when it comes down to offence, no one is allowed to know. And that should open the eyes of many people as to exactly what is going on and what that really means. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. A comment here by Deb Shippard. She's a channel member, I believe. Bang on, Richard. Thank you very much. Australia hot on the UK's heels. We're on the slippery slope. Yes, this isn't just in the United Kingdom. This is something that's been spreading across the Western world. The only country which appears to be fighting this right now is the United States under Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. It's incredible, but it appears as if our only hope right now is coming from America. And that's it. If it wasn't for Trump, I dread to think what state this country would be in now and free speech. I mean, I think we would end up being in, we would have been jailed a while ago, probably, Jeff. That's the way I see it. And I think Tommy Robinson would probably still be in prison right now, as would Katie Price. You would be in prison right now, and so many other Hopkins. Yeah, I know. I've got to stop this. Sorry, Katie Hopkins. Sorry. Do you know what? Once I get something in my head, I was looking at Katie Price, and I was like, oh dear, it's like, she's not in a good way, but from what I was reading, but maybe she's fine. I might be completely wrong there, of course. And no, somebody say Katie Price on the mind, tripping with honestly, that's the furthest thing that should be on my mind. But you absorb these things as you're going through the media. It's just hideous. I have to read. Yeah. Anyway, you won't believe. Hang on a sec, Jeff. What people don't realise, and I got my blue pen out. I'm serious.
Blue penned.
Yeah, you've been blue penned. What people don't realise is the amount of reading and research that we have to do. It's absolutely insane. Most of our days taken up by it. Anyway, Jeff, over to you. Go on.
Yeah, sorry. Now, thank you very much, Copper Deseo, but the existence of the UK offends me. Break it up. The UK isn't a person, and this is the sort of problem here. If that's the case, then you can't do that, I'm afraid. You could report the UK. You could report to the police and say the concept of the United Kingdom offends me, but I'm not quite sure what they'd do about it. Shut down Westminster, maybe. Now that would be a good idea, anyway. But yes.
There's a comment here. Kate Hopkins being arrested. I don't know if that's true or not. I'll just check on that. I don't know.
She was
that might be wrong. I don't know.
If she's been arrested today, then He's doing a Google and looking at it. Someone's talking about Israel. I'm not sure what's going on in Israel today. I'm really worried about them. So am I. I don't know what's going on. I haven't seen anything specific about that. Anyway, Tessa Broad says the left are adept at lying and creating false lies. Yes, that's what they base their whole mantra on. Communism is wonderful and stuff like that. Open borders is our greatest strength as a nation. That's what they're actually claiming. Open borders, don't have borders. It's your greatest strength as a nation. Yes, I'm sure. Because you can't stop anyone coming in who wants to do you harm, can you? So, yeah.
No.
This one came up. I think Andrew Bridgen knows something about this. Anyone heard about Starmer's secret flights landing in Manchester, 500 illegals a night? Wonder what other airports are being used as well. Yeah, if that's true, that's dynamite, really, and that'll unseat Starmer very, very quickly. So I'd really like to get to the bottom of that one. Anyway, that gets off.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't get off topic, actually. That's called freedom of expression. We have a right to know this stuff. A freedom of expression doesn't just cover what you say. It also covers your right to go out and find information. It covers that right. Freedom of expression is all about expressing yourself by finding out the information that you want to find out. And when people start hiding it from you on purpose to stop you finding things out that are legitimately yours to know, that is breaching free speech or freedom of expression as well. So that's an important concept that many people don't actually know about.
I can see no evidence right now, Jeff, that Katie Hopkins has been arrested. By the way. So, yeah.
Well, maybe check if Katie Price has been arrested.
Oh, that's what I was looking up. I'll have another look now, won't I? Yes, sorry.
Yes. Oh, dear.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
Actually, someone's... Jens Noyce has pointed out that the word she spoke is in the dictionary, as is the word dickheads. Yeah. I'm wondering whether it's in the Scrabble dictionary as well. Now, if it's in the Scrabble dictionary, then,
Well, yeah.
I've just got to say thank you very much for your contribution, but I'm not quite sure. That must be in a font I cannot read. So
I don't know if it's the same, if it's in English, actually, but thank you anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
It might be English. It looks like a weird font that I have not seen before.
No,
thank you very much from Oz. Lots of love and support from Australia. And yes, Starmer. He is one as well.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. Well, here's that question that you alluded to earlier, Richard. What do you reckon to that one?
No, this is a serious thing. Yes. Do you think in the near future British people will be able to claim political asylum in the USA? I think so, yes. In fact, there has been speak of it, actually. I can't remember who mentioned it. Was it J.D. Vance or Trump? I can't remember. It has been mentioned.
To it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think it's coming. I think it's coming because, as I said, if things get much hotter, Jeff, what are we going to do? What, do we just sit and wait around to go to jail? Because for people like you and I, that could be a death sentence.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't get about people who speak out on social media and if they decide to leave the country. Because you don't understand. We have families, okay? We have families. We want to be there in the future for our children and our grandchildren. We want to be there. But if our lives are ended because we have said something wrong in the government's eyes and ended up inside, that's just effectively a death sentence because of certain reasons, which we all know. Leaving the country becomes your only option. Safe option. You don't have another option. So there are a lot of people who are thinking about this. And if people were in the same position, what would they do? Would they say, oh, no, I'm staying, I'll just die? Okay. Yeah, right, all right, well, that's your decision. I personally, have a young son and I want to be around for him as he grows older. And that's it. End of.
Yep, definitely. I just want to say thank you again to the font. Thank you again. And
it's not a font, Jeff. I think it's in a different language.
Oh, right. Okay. Maybe. Thank you, John Dingle. Ben Habib called Ed Miliband a dickhead. So funny.
Did he?
But he also...
I didn't know that.
Oh, he did recently, yes. But that comes on the back of his speech at the Tommy Robinson Free Speech Festival rally, doesn't it? Where he basically sang along with Keir Starmer's W person.
Yes, and I think he did say, was it in an interview with Andrew Gold or was it Dan Wootton? I think he did say, I may be wrong, he did say that Keir Starmer is a... Yeah. Well, he's straight talking. At least he's speaking his mind and saying what everybody else probably in the country has maybe potentially thought. I'm not saying that Keir Starmer is but because I mean that's you can't say things. We love Keir Starmer. He's lovely. He's a good, decent man who upholds free speech in this country and cares about the British people first. And he has his heart is absolutely in the right place, and we trust Keir Starmer on his word. He's a man who doesn't flip flop about. He says what he thinks, and he sticks by it, isn't he? Yeah, doesn't he? There we go. Yeah.
Yes, whatever you've been smoking, mate. Now, here's one from Truth Junkie. Jeff Taylor, I am a qualified engineer and a truck driver. I think I have more to offer in the USA than I do here, and I would rather pay taxes in the USA than here, hands down. I think a lot of people probably think exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, if you're a qualified engineer and truck driver, the only, as we sort of make less and less stuff here, because we've outsourced it all, people who have got engineering degrees will probably be more useful in China, India, and the USA, places like that, where they are still continuing to make things. We don't do that anymore in this country because it increases our carbon footprint. So we offshore the carbon footprint to everyone else to generate and then pretend we're green when we buy all the stuff they make instead of making it here. Anyway, that's a long-established argument.
Yeah. Speaking of Jeff, earlier, I'm not going to say who it was. Blue pen's out. But I bumped into somebody earlier, someone Jeff, actually, you met as well.
Yep.
And politically, he is diametrically opposed to Jeff and myself. But he didn't know who I was, and that was good because I was able to just freely speak to the man. And he's done a lot of good work. We are complete polar opposites politically. But what was good is that I got a vibe that I was in a different place to him politically and religiously. But we had a good conversation anyway, and we found common ground. And that was there was a level of maturity there, and I really liked that. And that's something you don't see very often, is where you can actually have a conversation about the things you agree upon. And that is something which is good, and we need a little more of that. We need a little more maturity, I think, is needed in this day and age, where we can discuss the good things in life. And even though the person you're speaking to is on another wavelength to you entirely, let's still have conversations with these people. And I think that is what will unite the kingdom in many respects, is looking for common ground. We need to do a bit of that. But at the same time, I have to say, we can't, on a broader context here, not an individual, interpersonal basis, we can't actually allow ourselves to abandon our first principles. And that is, for this country, we are a Christian nation, and that has to be remembered. I know we can, as I said yesterday, we can talk about it being constitutionally and culturally Christian, whatever. Those are the outflows of being Christian, though, and that's a very different thing altogether. And it's like the flags that are waved. I think the waving of the flags are wonderful, have been wonderful, because they symbolize many of the things that act as visual anchors to the individual. They do. They act as visual anchors. That's part of my country. That's part of my identity in this Christian country. But they are not Christianity in themselves. That's the other side of it. At some point, the flags need to be lowered. Just let me finish. Lowered, and allow ourselves to remember why those flags are there. I don't mean actually take them down, but lowered psychologically. And we have to remember who is in charge of this world. And it's not Keir Starmer. It's not Emmanuel Macron. It is us, the people. And under Christ, we are that. And then we raise the flag and say, right, that is the flag that I hold in my hand as a Christian man. This symbolizes to me constitutionally and culturally one thing, but I as a Christian hold that flag high. That's where we need to be thinking. Sorry, Jeff, it has to be said.
Yeah. Sorry, there was a question in the comments about how much does it cost to join the Free Speech Union. I've just gone on there, Join Today thing, and it's I think it's £8.99 a month, or 59 or 60 quid a year, basically. That's what they call a silver member. That's the lowest. Or if you're older and you get a concession, retirees, students, veterans, overseas, blue light, that sort of thing, you can get it for 30 quid. And new students, first year university students, can get membership for £14.99. Although it does say, so I thought there was one for about 30 quid, but it doesn't seem to be on the website. Anyway, that's the sort of figures we're talking about. It's not beyond the wit of man or woman or person to join the Free Speech Union, but the peace of mind it will bring if you're in your job and you drop a word inadvertently or whatever, or you like something that your company doesn't want you to like, and you've done it in your own time, then at least you've got someone to fall back on. Now, it's not just. Yeah, go on. Sorry,
I have to say this. Look, it's just really sticking in my mind now because we're at a crossing point here. On the one side of this point, this Rubicon, I suppose, if it's going to be crossed, we have a country where people are free and you're able to speak, laugh, mock, argue, offend, and live as adults. But on the other side is a country where everything you say could potentially land you in jail, and only because you might have hurt somebody's feelings briefly for a moment, or you said something that could be perceived to hurt somebody's feelings, and the police will then enforce those feelings. And I'm afraid to say what's happened here with Katie Hopkins and many others is proof that the police might actually be coming down on the side of policing against people like Katie Hopkins and others who speak out. It's terrifying, Jeff. Terrifying.
Yeah, it is. It's very. Thank you, Copper Deseo. What's the most used supply in number 10 Downing Street? Boxes of Kleenex. I wonder why that would be. Has he got a bad bout of flu, or is it something else?
Oh, definitely flu, because it's COVID. Yes, COVID's going back around. I don't know if you know that, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going back around.
Yeah.
Yes, apparently it's a really nasty little strain going around.
Okay.
Yeah, really nasty. I think we all need to mask up again, actually, Jeff. That'll help us. That'll save us. That did it. Yeah, that'll do it. And we also need to get those yellow lines in supermarkets again. Do you remember those yellow lines? Oh, and please, let's have what was under Drakeford, where you had entire aisles. You couldn't go down certain aisles. I think, I've said it before, I believe, I may be wrong, but from what I can remember, baby milk was deemed a non-essential item for sale. I know, I'm pretty much certain baby clothing was. Yeah. What did we live through?
See,
I'm amazed.
Yeah, I'm amazed that the man dads didn't complain about that. Anyway. Jeff Redcliffe says there is a list of how many online posts have been attended by the police in the UK. 12,063. That is more than all the other countries put together.
Yeah, I remember
yes, that's one thing. That's one thing. Yeah, that's the one thing about the British establishment. When it gets things wrong manyfold worse than anyone else. We are better at it. We are better at wasting money, better at wasting time, better at all of it than anyone else on the planet. Especially when we put in place people like Keir Starmer into number 10. Anyway, it's not just the UK that's having a problem with freedom of speech. There is also another person. It's an American, the Republican Jim Jordan. He's the House representative for Ohio, and he's laid into Google for its free speech failures under the Joe Biden administration.
Yes.
So here is a few things. So, breaking. Due to our oversight efforts, Google commits to offer all creators previously kicked off YouTube due to political speech violations to return to the platform. But that's not all, because what has driven this is the big thing. And I'm wondering if this is going to allow people in the UK, because this does seem to be US aimed, his comments, but you would understand that because he is a US politician and he's looking after the interests of the US. Not like our lot, we have politicians here who are more intent on looking after, I don't know, the Gaza Strip than looking after Britain. Anyway, the next one that he said was that YouTube also admits the Joe Biden admin censorship pressure was unacceptable and wrong. So it looks like Joe Biden and his team were actively using social media and abusing social media as well. It confirms that the Biden admin wanted Americans censored for speech that did not violate YouTube's policies. Details when YouTube began rolling back its censorship policies on political speech after Judiciary GOP began the investigation. States that public debate should never come at the expense of relying on authorities. Yeah, we need to learn that here as well. Promises to never use third-party fact checkers. Do you remember them? Those third-party fact checkers.
Give me strength.
And warns that Europe's censorship laws target American companies and threaten American speech. And that's the big thing. The US is now, their freedom of expression is being threatened by the actions of the European Union and the UK government, because we want to control what the Americans do in their big social media giants, and we should not allow that to happen. And he says that over the last few years, we have uncovered massive scandals relating to big tech censorship. So he covers all of that as well. There's a lot to this. And during the Biden-Harris years, under the White House pressure, YouTube changed its policies to censor political debate on COVID and elections. Today, YouTube admits that the censorship pressure from the Biden admin was unacceptable and wrong. So it's all sort of beginning to tumble out, isn't it? But the thing is that the next Democrat president is going to walk back on everything and start doing exactly the same as Joe Biden did, because that's the way they're wired. Just like Labour in this country, that's the way they're wired. And just like the last Tory government, because that was as left-wing as anything, and they were just as bad and were wired this way as well.
Jeff, I don't think there's going to be another Democrat government for a very long time.
They always say
for
that.
A very long time. Well, I know we've had this conversation, Jeff. Yeah, eventually, but I think we're 20 years away from that, I think, to be honest with you. I think we've had peak woke, and I think that the people in America have not just come to their senses. I think there's always been an underbelly which is unlike here in the UK, where there is, thanks to their Christian heritage, which is much stronger, and their Christian beliefs, which are much stronger, they haven't taken the rubbish like we have, Sorry, carry on, Jeff.
I get that. But what does this mean, says Republican Jim Jordan? Whether you were an established YouTube presence with a massive following, like, gives an example, or just was starting out to express political views there, you will have an opportunity to come back onto the platform if you were censored for engaging in political speech. And there are several people in this country who fell under all of this and had their monetization removed, or their whole channel taken from them. Maybe they need to start reapplying to get to have it this would be the right time to have a go at getting that mended. under the current
Well, Jeff, the thing
administration.
which isn't mentioned here is, will that include shadow banning, things like that? I'm hoping that it will, because I do believe that Trump did say something along the lines of that, saying that shadow banning was such things would be completely unacceptable and there'd be heavy consequences for platforms which did that. And I'm hoping that, because that's a big thing. We were shadow banned almost certainly for quite a period.
Yeah.
And we have been on and off because of, well, I mean, our reach, I suppose, for want of a better expression.
Yes. It's quite funny that at certain times when there's been something in the news that is very topical, but it sort of shows the woke in a bit of a bad light. We do a video on it, and it sort of doesn't get anywhere. It grows slowly and peters off. Then I go and check other people who've done the same subject, and it's sort of the same with them. You know what I mean? It's like,
no,
yeah.
No, I tell you what, now that's because we're crap.
Yeah, that's right. We're all crap. Yeah. Anyway, Jim Jordan goes on to say this is another victory in the fight against censorship. In August 2024, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg wrote the committee a letter admitting Biden admin pressured Facebook to censor Americans. Facebook censored Americans. Facebook throttled the Hunter Biden laptop story. So yes, they were engaged in shadow banning in one form or another. So that should absolutely be stopped. And in this country as well. I'm hoping they follow through on this and then start imposing trade penalties on us. If we in this country, our government tries to take our freedom of expression away from us, then we deserve as a nation to be punished. We do. We deserve
it's not going to happen
because
though,
we're electing idiots, or worse than idiots, to do this sort of thing. And what we need to do is start voting other people in.
Yeah, it's not going to happen though, Jeff, because luckily we are well represented here in the United Kingdom. And yes, luckily those such trade sanctions, because what you're saying is a hypothetical scenario, of course. Luckily, we have Keir Starmer fighting for free speech in the United Kingdom. We are so lucky. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, Jim Jordan goes on. Even as Meta admitted the Biden-Harris censorship was wrong, others in big tech were reluctant to go on the record. Now Google is acknowledging for the first time that it too faced censorship from pressure from the Biden White House and that the pressure was unacceptable and wrong. Yeah. But that's not all. YouTube is now making changes to its platform to prevent future censorship. YouTube is committing to the American people that will never use outside so-called fact checkers to censor speech. No more telling Americans what to believe and what not to believe. So that's, where it's going. And in this country, all we have is everybody wants to fact check, don't they? Everybody else. And put up, I've seen so many statistics when you actually look at some of it and you go, wait a minute, they're calling themselves fact checkers. Doesn't seem to make any sense anyway. But he does say that YouTube confirms that Europe is targeting American free speech and innovation. That should worry us. Here it admits that European social media laws place a disproportionate regulatory burden on American companies. And also warns that Europe could force companies to remove lawful, as I said before, lawful social media content and could risk freedom of expression within and outside of the EU. And that's the big thing. So if the EU passes all these blanket laws, instantly Starmer is signing up to them. And, that must be wonderful because it came from Brussels and we must do it. Anything that comes out of Brussels is okay by him, as And he says that's right. Europe wants to censor your online speech, even if you aren't in Europe. So free speech is under attack, and it's coming from Europe and the UK. We have a grand history of free speech, and that's where it is. Free speech in this country is now history. That's it, nothing else. All that matters is you do not think and you do not say. They would rather you just went around, did your work, turn up at work, keep it shut, go home, social media, soak up all the good woke social media, keep it shut. That's all they want you to do, and you'll live a nice, happy life. Yeah.
Sorry, there's a super chat here from All Things Film with Yam Yam. He says, if you can bring that one up, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm just bringing it up.
Okay, if you'd like to read that out, actually, Jeff, could you read that out, please?
Yeah, I'm autistic. I don't do eye contact. I never communicate, but for a few months I've become mute, literally, because of severe anxiety and panic attacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to deal with that one. I can totally relate to that. Eye contact is not the easiest thing if you're on the autistic spectrum. One of the things I was taught is to look, if you can, here. When you look at someone, not in their eyes, if you can look here. I'm just telling you what I was taught when I had my diagnosis, age 41. Communication, going outside and stuff can be very difficult. I know we're all in different places with it. I mask mine well, apparently, but not always. And there are certain things that I find very, very difficult, which I'm not going to go into fully. As for becoming mute, I totally get that. I think one of the things that's called is shutdowns. And that's something I can relate to. And again, severe anxiety and panic attacks. I am with you there. Yes, it's something that I have experienced most of my life. So I can just like to say, you're not on your own there, and God bless you. And I hope that you're okay, and I hope that you find a way. That's all you can say. It's very difficult for people on the autistic spectrum to live in a way that other people do. A great video I watched years ago is called The Sensory Funnel about autism, and it comes from sensory overload. That's one of the root things. It's very difficult to explain to people who've never experienced it. Essentially, it's like you're going to a crowded room, and lots of people are going, oh, it's a bit busy. Yeah. If you're on the autistic spectrum, that noise is like, I can't explain it. The sound itself will be like a strobe light going off in your face continuously. So I totally get it, and I hope you're okay. That's all I can say there. Jeff. You're muted. Is he coming back?
Once again, I'm in my crowd-pleasing mode of talking, and they don't have to listen to me. It's called muting myself. Yes. Yes, I totally agree, and that it's and it is one of those things. It's quite funny. We used to just sort of live and let live, didn't we? And people just got on with their lives, and even the odd people were just accepted as being a bit odd, and we just got on. Nowadays, everything has to be pigeonholed, buttonholed, explained, diagnosed, and then you have to take something for it. Probably the best thing for most of it is a helping hand, bit of friendship, that sort of thing. I don't know.
Well, it's yes and no.
Wonder where we're going.
Yeah,
I just wonder where we're going.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying. There's a lot of emphasis placed on diagnoses these days, and as you rightly said, we were, a lot of people were categorized as a bit odd years ago, and now there is, it's like I'm one of them apparently, and that's me being self-deprecated about my own condition. But the thing is, that's more of a perception that was going on a long time ago, in terms of usually the eccentric genius, usually, because people in the autistic spectrum are usually far more intelligent. That's why it has to be said, statistically, incidentally. Sorry about that if that offends somebody.
Right. Every I'm going to put a big thing across the top. Sorry if this offends. Then it'll be at the top of our chat all the time. So we're constantly apologising.
Yeah. No.
Now this one's a good
one. We have to finish this off though, Jeff. I'm sorry. Yes, perceptions.
Well, I just want to point to this one.
Go on.
I just want to point to this one. This one is from Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer 101 saying Count Dankula. Do you remember Count Dankula, who got cancelled for his dog? and the salute.
Yes, yeah.
Do you remember that? He was totally cancelled for a joke with his dog, which was quite funny actually. And I wonder if he'll make a comeback now. There you go.
Yeah, it's a good point here by Bo Desir. Autism has been around for decades. It's been around since it's been around a lot longer than that, but it's just been renamed and recategorized. You see, one of the things that's interesting, which I want to address here, is what things that aren't autism have been categorized as autism as well. That's something which I find quite worrying. Because there's so many factors with diagnoses, some people might have comorbidities, multiple conditions. Autism is a component within. And that is quite, that can result in people having a perception of what autism is, which it isn't as well. That's another very, very important thing to remember. Because if it's just the pure autism diagnosis, that might manifest very different to somebody who has multiple issues. And this is, again, one of the things I found... sorry, let me just read this. Sorry, we'll come to that in a minute. Sorry. Let's have a go back. If you could put the super chat up again, where all things with your yam, all things filmed with yam. Sorry, I really think this is an important conversation to have. And I think
he's added another one, Richard.
Yes,
he's added another one. So I'll put the new one up.
Yeah. I got diagnosed with autism at 6. I've never communicated face-to-face or do eye contact, and I don't have friends or human family. It's me and my dogs. God bless you. And this is one of the beautiful things about social media, is that it allows people who are on the autistic spectrum to have some form of communication, which otherwise is utterly intolerable. And very, very difficult. And I think that this is something that it's one of the many wonderful things that have come from social media. Communicating face-to-face for people on the autistic spectrum is very difficult. And I don't think people can appreciate, unless they've had it and they've got it, how difficult it is. I mask mine. I've learned certain coping mechanisms, but there are times when I cannot communicate with people. And Jeff will tell you that. I will not be able to communicate other than on the phone, and to people like Jeff, who I trust and who is a good friend. There are exceptions. There we go.
Yes. And Carol Georgina says, if Katie gets put in jail, I think hell will be unleashed. Yes, could very well possibly be so. And I will just add that some people have likened her case to that of the former EastEnders star Jamie Borthwick, who I'm told played the part of Jay Brown in that soap opera. He was recently cancelled by the BBC for his unedifying comments. But I'm not sure he was ever visited by the Plod. I might have got that wrong there, though. As I said, I do consider this to be the use of lawfare to target the person, not the so-called crime they have committed. Because, you see, the process is the punishment. It's used to shut people up. That is to say, totally anti-free expression. And that's how I'm going to finish it. So, please like, subscribe and comment below. And please consider becoming a member of the channel and supporting us, because we need all the support we can get. There you go. And on that note, I will just... Oh, sorry, Richard wants to say something now.
As Asmo said, all things filmed with Yam. You got friends here, brother. You can't communicate in words, in chat, so you are... never give up. Your life has value. Absolutely. And God bless you. And I wonder how many people do come on to these chats who otherwise couldn't communicate in real life. And this is one of the valuable things about these live streams, Jeff, and why I know we've gone completely off reservation here in terms of the content of what we originally started speaking about. But that doesn't matter, because we are, this is a community here. These are people here. These are people who invest time their time to watch us and listen to the conversations, Jeff, that you and I have. And, these are people. These are people. How many times, Jeff, have we read heart-wrenching comments of people in pain and finding... And sorry, Asma said, I typed that a bit wrong. I meant you can talk in chat. Yeah, absolutely. That's... So he says you can't communicate in words. He meant actually you can communicate in chat. Wonderful. And it's sorry, ladies and gentlemen, this is something I'm very passionate about because it's something that can really improve somebody's life. And if it can improve somebody's life, then I'm all for it. And God bless you all. With lots of love to you all. And over to you, Jeff.
Yes, as I was saying, thank you all for watching and listening. And it's really great to interact with you as much as we can with the number of comments coming in. And we are living in weird times, difficult times, most of it because we feel more frightened about saying something than we do about doing something. And that really isn't the right place to be, is it? And on that note, I shall say it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from Mr. Jeff Taylor. Goodbye.
Goodbye.